Hello, welcome to another episode of iAfrica, the show that celebrates everything African, everything color and culture. I am your host, Nicole Jamu, and on today's episode, we speak to three phenomenal individuals. One who focuses mainly on the academic heritage, that is the Model 5.0, as she takes a tour at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe with students. In the second segment, we speak to Tapiwa, a jazz artist who is not just breaking personal barriers, but also is pushing to repopularize the jazz music genre. In the third and final segment, we speak to designer Ishane Susibanda, who has designed for some of the biggest stars from the continent, including Arya Starr and Tyler. This is today's episode, and I hope that you will stay with us as we walk the African journey.
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel.
In this first segment of today's episode of iAfrica, we speak to a guide at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe who walks us through the Education 5.0 model that was introduced in Zimbabwe.
My name is Francisca Kuzaima Rufo. I'm the Education Officer here at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. So here at the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, we have different programs that we have. This one, the Culture Box, including the Culture Box. So the Culture Box is a platform where we present the material culture of Zimbabwe to students, to groups that visit the National Gallery of Zimbabwe, besides, touring this place. As we present to them the Culture Box, it's a way that the National Gallery is also promoting heritage-based education. What happens is, as the students come here, we know that they are doing heritage, they are also doing VPA. So at times when they just read their books, they don't know much about our culture, they don't know much about what the culture really is. So for us, they get a chance to have us present to them, and also they touch and they feel. If we present to them about the Tonga baskets, maybe they would have just read about it in books. They don't know how they were made. So for us, it's a chance of sharing that information with our children, with those students that would have come to the National Gallery of Zimbabwe. They are learning a lot because, as I said, we have different age groups that come, starting from the little ones, ECD, even up to tertiary, even tourists that come. So when they come, as we are presenting the Culture Box to them, we are imparting knowledge. So you will find out, as we are presenting the Culture Box to them, you might lift up a mbezo and someone will say ibadza. So that for us is a chance of letting them know what the real object is and what it was made of. As even they are doing VPA, it's also part of that. They're able to learn much. They get to appreciate what these things are for. Like as I said, we explain to them, chinu ichi chaishandiskwei. You get answers zekuti unoseka. Some will say chikwambo because of maybe the beads that are decorating the chinu. So for them, they are very eager to learn. They will know my baskets are, what were they used for. Besides just touching and feeling, they get to demonstrate. We call them, come and demonstrate. Raishandiswa chi, ngoma, oridza, duri nemutswi, vachitoita take turns, and vanotorwira kuti ndini ndada kumboitawo, ndini ndada kumboitawo. So I see this initiative by the National Gallery of Zimbabwe it's very important that, schools come and the children engage with us, they learn more about the material culture of Zimbabwe, and they know where we came from. For example, maybe when we are making presentation about wooden plates, to know a transition from wooden plates to clay plates. Now vanotokudza vana kuti we don't know that izvozvi vanhu vakungoshandisa maplates edhaga, vakungoshandisa maplates egodo. So we try to teach them kuti vaone kuti muraramiro waitwa wacho wanga wakamira sei, vanhu vaiita sei maplates avo pavaipakurirwa, vaidya mundiro imwe chete, ndiro yavo yesadza apa, ndiro yavo yemurivo apa. Zvasiyana nemazuva ano ngoti munhu anongonzi plate yake. Saka vanonyatsoona, even when they go back to school, they are able to say kuti ndokwatakabva uku, from wooden plates to these ceramic plates. So I encourage schools, colleges to visit the National Gallery of Zimbabwe so that they engage with us, we present to them the material culture. It's a chance of them having fun, but also at the same time, they will learn a lot.
As you can tell, we're not just speaking about theory, but we're speaking also practical measures that are coming in place in the country. But coming up in the next segment, we speak up to Tapiwa, who is a jazz artist, and he tells us the story of how he got into music and what it is like to be a jazz musician in Zimbabwe.
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food and travel. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food and travel.
Contrary to common belief that jazz music is for those that are old and mature, here's the story of Tapiwa, the jazz musician, who's taken it upon himself to be a musician, not just for all the other common genres, but rather for jazz. We chat to him on how he got into the genre and what it means for him to get into such a niche music genre in the country.
Tonogara tese diaspora, totanga pacha, totanga swita, totanga musha. Iweneni diaspora, totanga pacha, totanga swita, totanga musha. Dakango mirira, dakango mirira, zoka unditore, mirira, zoka unditore, mirira. My name is Tapsty, the African Star, and ever since 2020 I've released about eight songs, composed many. I'm a versatile artist and I seek to comment on social matters. People are suffering from different illnesses, social illnesses. We can talk of heartbreaks, we can talk of depression, we can talk of abuses. People are suffering out there. So my art seeks to address all those matters. I sing Afro-pop, I sing Afro-fusion, I sing gospel music in Chimurenga music. I think you can see the type of signature in my head symbolizes Chimurenga music. I seek to just comment on social matters. So ever since my start, I've managed to get awards. The first one was from Bindura Music Awards. The second one was from Mashingo Achievement Awards. So been trying to put my art out for the people, for the audience, seeking to motivate, seeking to comfort through my art. That's it.
So, what made you decide to be a singer or a musician?
I feel at home when I'm singing. Besides it being a talent, maybe so to say, but I just feel myself. I just find myself comfortable when I'm singing. I think it's a way I feel better to communicate with other people. Well, I think other than music, it was going to be music. Yeah, it was going to be music. Maybe if you mean that I probably couldn't sing, I was still I was still going to be running things to do with music. So music is just my place. I feel I cannot imagine life without music. My life without music. I cannot really say I come from a musical family. Well, my family members, my siblings like music, but not that we can say they're stars when it comes to music. So I just think it's something that was thrown in the family or myself. I think usually I get my inspiration from our day-to-day experiences. We are going through a lot. We are experiencing a lot. Even the life that we have now is a lot. Blessings. So that's where I derive my message and try to impart that to different people. We can get an ear that will benefit from the art I'm trying to deliver. So that's basically how I make my music. I can say 90% of the songs that I've sung and presented to the world are my own making. But of course, I have, I think, two songs that I've recorded and released that I got writers that are not myself. So, but I enjoy writing my own music and presenting my own art. I think the music industry in Zimbabwe gives much credit on the last image, the last person, and overshadows or forgets about the people behind the art. I also think that the music industry in Zimbabwe is not yet that commercialized in, I mean, to extent that people will recognize everybody who's in the chain of the making. So I really think we need to build awarenesses on that, and we really need to consider everybody who's in the system, who's in the making of the product. We have a tendency of liking the product, but not knowing who is behind the product. So I think we should recognize that, and we should give credit to everybody who's in the system. I used to look up to Gary Mapanzre. He was my favorite when I was still, I think, 5 years ago. Yeah, I used to like his art. He was young by then and could deliver his art to the world. So that was just a motivation to me that I could do that. I also have other people, other artists I look up to, but for somebody to, I mean, who I can say a role model, that was Gary Mapanzre. I think I see myself collaborating with artists like Trevor Dongo. I do love music, so I think one or two songs with Trevor would do. I also think from the other side of the Chimurenga type of music, well, somebody like Praise would do, and many other artists. I really appreciate a lot of artists in Zimbabwe, so, and across borders. So I think the list is endless, but those two for now. I think for the young creatives in Africa, we need to know the commercial conduct of art. We have a tendency of blaming people, blaming maybe the people who are up there, that they're not doing justice as far as art is concerned. But you find that at times we do not really have the knowledge of how we should go about the art, probably get to monetize our projects, get to benefit from our art. So I think we need to develop ourselves more on the commercial side, commercial aspect of art, and to really know how we should conduct it as far as art is concerned. I wish to get my art across borders, not only in Zimbabwe, but as far as God permits. We really have messages. I have messages I think should be heard out there. Different matters, different experiences that I think should be heard out there. So I wish to get my art out there.
So that was the story of Tapiwa, the jazz artist, and I hope that it will inspire you not just to become another common musician, but to defy the odds. In the third and final segment on today's episode, we chat to Ishane Susibanda, who is a designer and an illustrator, most commonly known for working with renowned Arya Star. Now, we speak to him on how he got into design and what it has meant to him and his career working with such big African stars.
Zoka unditore mirira zoka unditore mirira zoka undito ikwe okurese wakawana basa ere zvakamira sei koiwe
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel.
In the third and final segment of today's episode, we speak to Ishane Susibanda, who is a designer and an illustrator known mostly for working with Arya Star. We chat to him about how he got into the design space and what it has meant to him working with such big African names.
Hello, my name is Ishana Bonasibanda. I'm 21 years old. I'm a fashion illustrator and designer based in Zimbabwe. I have always been in fashion ever since I was young, but however, I started posting my work like 4 years ago. That's when I put my work on the public eye on Instagram. I've always known that I had an interest in fashion, and I've always been drawing and illustrating stuff, but I didn't have the confidence to post it yet. However, the confidence came 4 years ago. That's what I mean by I started posting my work. My parents were not always accepting. Just like every other parent in Zimbabwe, they felt like art was just funny work. They felt like it could be a hobby, not a profession. But I had my first gig like 3 years ago when I designed for Tyler. And when they paid, they were like, yeah, let's go. Generally, they've always expressed their views as fashion is just a game. And fashion is something that you're supposed to just do as a hobby. They never thought of it as like is a career that anyone can take. And I don't blame them at the moment. Our country did not have so many designers that could like be role models and you could point at them like this is a person who's doing big things in fashion. But I'm yet to prove that wrong. My inspiration and my drive has always been more than just my environment. Like I could call myself a rose that bloomed in a desert. Um, I've always looked up to people who are not in my sphere of influence. I've always looked up to big people like Donatella Versace, like Gianni, and many other designers. And I've always hoped to be big like them and show the world that you can come from a small place, but also make it big.
So, what would you say was the highlight of your career, or what is the highlight of your career at the moment?
The highlight of my career at the moment is the tour that I'm doing with Ira Star. It's quite big. It's a big thing for me, and I'm quite proud to have reached such a level at a young age of 21. And I hope to still move forward. Working with big names like Ira Star and Tyler, judging by my background, it increases my faith in my capability and things that I can do. And it also, the success does affect me. It also makes me a big name alongside them on their own. Like, it's very empowering. It's very motivating to know that a person from my background has worked with people like them. And I hope to keep going with more people like them. How I linked up with like the celebrities that I'm working with right now is I post my work on Instagram, and I'm generally a person who works in the field of fashion illustration. So my job is to draw a person in an outfit that I design on my own. And for Tyler and both Arista, I did an illustration inspired by one of their videos, and they saw it, and their teams reached out. That's how I got to get to work with them. My biggest advice to artists that are at home is that when you're working in this field, work with your heart. Like it's not a field where you instantly get in and get instant success. It's a field where you can work for many years but not get any results. However, when you work with your heart, soon any work has you reap from anything that you sow. So that was the motive that I worked with, and it's working for me. Hopefully, it will work for you too. With the fashion scene, specifically in Zimbabwe, I wouldn't say I'm happy, but however, I do have faith in the fashion industry because we're growing. Fashion creatives are coming, fashion designers are emerging. There's so many names that are in Zimbabwe that people should know, like Cookie Sanban, Ebenezer, and so many more. It's very motivating and it gives faith where we see like very young people like doing much work like that. And I feel like a big change that we would need as creatives in Zimbabwe, I feel like we need attention. I feel like we have always been there, but we're not getting attention. And also creative minds and open minds by the public view. We are the local talent and we do need support. I feel like one thing that can make an artist scared to show themselves in Zimbabwe is most probably discrimination. I feel like as a society, people need to be able to cultivate local talent. Like we need to be able to support local talent and not despise local talent. Like I feel like in Zimbabwe, I feel like it has to change. Like the whole parents view like every child needs to be a doctor, every child needs to be a lawyer. No, no, no. I feel like we should be able to cultivate young raw talent, and that is the biggest thing that we can do to increase the creativity here in Zimbabwe. My aspirations simply is the phrase "the iconic" before my name. And I also want to be part of the big five. Like, I want to put a Zimbabwean fashion brand in the big five. And I want to go to places, travel, spread the fashion, spread my talent. Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, Milan, be counted when people are talking about Versace, have my name added upon those. That's where I want to see myself in 10 years.
So that is the story of Ishanes, who has worked with the likes of Arya Star, the likes of Tyler as well, and he continues to dream. This was the episode of iAfrica, and I hope that it will propel you to tap into your creative side and to do it with the most authentic self at heart. I am your host, Nicole Jamu. Be sure to interact with us on our social media, and until next time, take care.
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. iAfrica presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. From well-known brands through to ambitious startups, every week iAfrica seeks out the continent's best design and lifestyle innovations. Join me, your host Nicole Jamu, as we take a round trip across Africa and get you inspired, motivated, and future-oriented.